a sense of how you've benefited, how Deliveroo has benefited in Singapore with the pandemic?
Thanks, Haslinda. It's lovely to be on the program. I think benefited is a challenging term to use for what we're experiencing right now. I think it's a challenging time for food and beverage operators, and that extends to the delivery companies. So, like you said, we've seen more than 1,000 restaurants come on the platform since the start of the year. We also saw a surge in applications for riders, 30%. Quarter on quarter from Q4 last year to Q1 this year. So there's an excess in terms of demand from consumers, restaurants and riders. And as a food delivery company, I think we need to make sure that the changes and adaptations we're making are sustainable and scalable so that we can continue to deliver the same level of service to all of those stakeholders.
Having said that, though, Sarah, how is Singapore doing compared to the other 12 markets that Deliveroo operates in?
I think for Singapore, as a population, the government has made sure to try and keep as much of a level of normalcy in terms of people's lives and business as well. So what we've seen compared to other markets is that the food and beverage industry has remained relatively open. The main shift we've seen is obviously away from dine-in, where restaurants have no longer been able to service customers in their retail outlets, and that's meant that we've had to accommodate a shift to in-home. So the two biggest changes we've seen from a food delivery perspective is when people eat. So historically, we used to have big peaks at dinner time, and now we see peaks at dinner and lunchtime, and then where people are ordering from. So as people have moved away from the CBD, away from their office buildings and are working from home and telecommuting, we now see a more even distribution from all of the different neighborhoods around Singapore.
What separates you from the other delivery companies?
I think that we've been in Singapore for coming on to 5 years now, and we're definitely committed to continuing to make sure that Singaporeans can order and eat the food that they love throughout this circuit breaker and beyond. What separates us is really, I think, the care and attention that we pay to the service with all of our partners. So we're very, very conscious of the challenges that all of our partners are facing, and we constantly take feedback and look to change our business model to better serve each of these partners. So one example of that is that we know that there have been a lot of there's been a lot of talk in the media about restaurant commissions. I think that we've launched a campaign last week where consumers can now round up their order or add a tip. And what we're looking to do is match the first 10,000 tips that go directly towards restaurants, no commissions charged on that, just to show that we're helping a little bit more and we recognize some of those concerns. I think similarly on the rider side, one of the key pieces of feedback is just financial security and control. We know a lot of riders that have joined us recently are out of work because of the economic uncertainty. And one of the changes we've made to how we deal with riders is we've allowed them to access their income within 3 days, as opposed to 2 weeks ordinarily. So we're going to continue to listen to feedback from these very important stakeholders that we deal with and change our business model to adapt.
Sarah, you mentioned scalability. You can scale the business, but can you also go into different elements here? How do you actually expand it further? Could you go into perhaps grocery deliveries like one of your rivals does already? Are you thinking about things like that?
I think for now, what we want to focus on is doing what we do best. Restaurants are at the heart of our business model. We started out as a food delivery company delivering restaurant quality food to people all around Singapore, and we want to maintain that reputation. So for now, I think we're looking at how can we best service restaurants and help them through this period. And from your question in terms of sustainability and scalability, we'll only move into other areas if they make sense for our current business model and our existing partners.
Sarah, you talked about how the pandemic is also making it very challenging for delivery companies. We know that Deliveroo in the UK cut at least 350 of its staff, about 15% of its global workforce. What's the situation in Singapore? Have you had to cut down your staff? And if so, can you quantify that for us?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of companies are facing a lot of economic uncertainty right now. I think from a food delivery perspective, obviously there's been an increase in demand for the first 6 months of the year, but we have no foresight as to how sustainable that's going to be for the balance of the year and beyond. And obviously people's disposable income is going to change going forward, and the restaurant industry is going to change. So in Singapore, we've also been subject to the same challenges. We've recently let go 20 to 25% of our workforce here, and that really reflects changes that we've needed to make to our operating structure to set us up for longer term success. So I think that's really regretful. And what we've just ensured is that we're supporting those employees as best possible with generous packages and where possible with redeployment into other roles and other markets.